I want to ask you a question. Why would any church have a college ministry? Why do so few churches have a college ministry? For some reasons, for some churches, the reasons they don't have a college ministry is very simple. There's no college in their town. They're excused. For others, if there's a college in your town, why would you not have a college ministry? I think pretty simply, we've got to do something with the kids, so let's make sure that there's a children's ministry. Kids get a little older. They turn into teenagers. We better find a youth guy. People come and visit our church. People come and they get married. They have kids. They're called families. We better do something with them. And then there's this age in the middle. And everybody's going, what do we do with those guys? In our world specifically, you got Baylor that's on the other side of I-35, so you got the little bubble over there. And you've got an H-E-B, and you've got some restaurants, and there's no even reason to come over to I-35. The fact that y'all drove 7 minutes to get here is miraculous. You had to actually go under I-35, drive all the way over here to come be a part. If you're living close to MCC, you had to come all the way down 17th, 18th, 19th, whatever that it was at the moment, and then take a right onto Sanger and drive up to our facility. You had to come all the way over here, TSCC. You had to make a long drive over here as well. It's amazing how you can be from a great big city like San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, wherever you're from. If you're used to driving 30 to 45 minutes anywhere, you get to Waco, you drive 7 minutes, you're like, shoot, forget that, you know? So why would we do a college ministry and make you drive all the way over here? Is it just because we've got this really good worship team on Sunday morning and these young people around 2021 keep showing up? So we got to do something with them. Let's keep them off the streets. Let's keep them out of the parties. Let's do something bad. Let's let them not do something bad. So we don't want them to do anything bad. So on Wednesday night, we'll keep them occupied, and then we'll do a few other things, and we'll just keep them occupied, and that way nobody does anything bad. And that is just the most ridiculous reason for doing anything in a church. That's not why we do what we do at our church. You just heard 4 people share 11 stories of why we believe in college ministry. I mean, my question is that if we don't see the return of Jesus in our day, which I'm giving my life for, in a couple hundred years, they might read a book similar to this one that was just read for you. And they might have an opportunity to read some stories about you. Did you notice how these people were described? For many of them, athletes, popular around their campuses, very driven individuals. And then God enters the picture. And the destiny of their life changes, and I just wonder, as you read that, if you thought to yourself, I wonder in a couple hundred years, if in some church or chapel service, someone would get up and say, I want to read to you about some people. And they open up to their reading, and they turn to read about the girl from Baylor University. And they begin to read about people who've been so impacted by the love of God. You see, as we started this piece by saying, if we just continue to talk about an appetite for God, but we don't attach it to what God is now calling us to do, we'll miss a lot. This book's called The Fuel and the Flame. It talks about how to reach your campus for Jesus. I've been asking all my life group leaders to read this, so anybody else want this book about how to see your campus stirred up for God? Lord, don't let that hit anybody in the head. Nice catch. It's wild. I wanted your mind to get blown tonight about a handful of ordinary college students that are just going through the norms of college life one minute, and then they're used by God to make a global impact the next. What happened in that gap between full-time student and then full-time world changer? How in the world did that happen? Very plain and simple. They had become gripped by the cause of the Christ that they had come to love. Very simple. And so I want to say it again. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about what it means to have an appetite for God and what it means to fiercely protect your hunger. We said, let's build a wall of spiritual disciplines around our love for God. We challenged you the last week to do 7 days of reading the Bible every day. And if you missed a day, it's okay. Just jump back on. And we have a time, if you want to say, I want to continue to do that, we have packets out as you leave that say Alone with God. You can get that packet, go be with God, and start learning, how do I build this wall of discipline? We talked about the need for community and coming together through our life groups. We talked about the need for events. We said, go where God is. This is one thing I'm always surprised when Christians start telling me that their love for God is dwindling, but they don't ever make a move to go where God's moving. So when we do things, we're doing things not to keep you off the streets. We're doing things because we believe God's there. We want you to come and get a piece of God in that moment that fires you up to go forward. So this last week, we had bros and tacos. It was awesome. Y'all devoured 300 tacos. Amazing. We had the sisterhood in this house right here. Y'all devoured a bunch of bagels, but in typical girl form, y'all left some bagels, and I got to eat those this morning. But the dudes, no tacos left. Unbelievable. But it was beautiful to listen to people talk about their love for God. And here's what we're going to do. This next Tuesday, these groups of life groups that y'all meet in, a group of the life groups is called a section, and y'all are going to meet next Tuesday morning with your section, and y'all are going to call down the house. Y'all are going to pray together and believe God for him to do something amazing. So if you're like, where do I go next Tuesday morning at 6:30? You don't come here. You go wherever your life group is going on your campus and believe God to do amazing things. Because why? We're putting a wall around our hunger for God to protect it. We're making sure that it's protected by God. If you want to go where God is, women, this weekend is going to be here for the women's conference. And I welcome you ladies to come and jump in with this women's conference. You're going to hear from one of our college parents, Lexi and Meek. Some of our college students, Gabby and Jen and Maddie and different ones are going to be sharing. I encourage you to be here. Just opportunities to keep your hunger for God stirred up. Why we do all this? Once again, because you can't come to love this man and not come to fall in love with the cause of this man. So what's his cause? While you just heard it, we're going to unpack that here over the next few moments, and we're just going to be talking here for the next 20 minutes or so. But I want to unpack in a moment what the cause is. Before I do, I want you to think about something real quick. Think about the course of your life. Have you ever really fully given yourself to a cause that was not attached to a person? I sincerely doubt it. I sincerely doubt you would give yourself to a cause that's not attached to a person that you know and love. For example, this week I got an email from someone that was a very, very long email, and God bless you if this is you in the room. You're loved by God and going to heaven and all that, but this person was asking me for money for a trip that they're doing. And I admired their trip. I didn't get to read all the details because the email was so long, but they were asking me for money. And I just kept staring at the name, and I kept thinking, I don't know who that person is. So you're probably a lot more godly than I am, and you probably would have gone and emptied your bank account, but I deleted the email because I was just kind of like, I don't know who they are. I have no idea who's asking me for money. So I deleted it. Now, contrast that when I was in life group our life group last semester, and very vulnerably, one of the people in the life group began to share that they've been trying for a year to get pregnant. And they and their husband have just not been able to do that. And with tears in their eyes, they said, we really are asking God for a baby. It's just not happening. And when life group ended, I called up the man, and I called up his wife, and I said, here's the deal. I think we need to be a family here, so why don't we do this? I'll take a group of days, and I'll get our life group, and we'll all just start fasting and praying, believing God for you to have a baby. They're like, you're going to go without food? Yeah, I'm going to go without food for different days. And we all started taking different days and started praying and fasting in the month of November, believing God for them to get pregnant. I would gladly go without food, did not even think about it twice. Why? Because I love them so much, I will jump into what they're doing. You see, when you know someone and you love someone, you will gladly jump into whatever cause is on their heart. You with me? And I believe that what God wants to show you is over these last few weeks when your heart's been pounding out of your chest with love for God, he's drawing you in and saying, I want to know you, I want to love you, and I want to invite you into the cause that's driving my heart. And really, when you read the New Testament, you see him inviting different ones to come and walk with him, to know his love, to enjoy him, and then to say, look at this cause that is on my heart, the redemption of mankind. And to see this up close, I want to take you to the book of John and just watch one story and talk through a guy's life that we don't read about a whole lot. His name is Nathaniel. And I'm going to start in verse 43. It says, the next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, follow me. Now, Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him of whom Moses in the law and all the prophets and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Now, I very much relate to this because if you're like, why is Nazareth? This would be kind of like us saying, we have found the Messiah, he's in Waco. And everybody would be like, in Waco, right. Yeah, that whole Koresh thing, how'd that work out for you guys, you know? So this is like, no way would God do anything in Waco. That's like for the David Koreshes of the world. This is what Nathanael is thinking. Can anything happen out of little old Nazareth? That doesn't make sense. Keep going. Philip said, come and see. Just a little invitation. Why don't you come and see? Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him. Before Nathanael could say a word, he says, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit. Nathanael freaks out and says, how do you know me? Jesus answered him, before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Now, I don't know that it takes too much discernment for you to see that Nathanael is sitting there and he's going, this is not a natural man I'm dealing with. Before I even got up close, that I am being called out and he sees what's inside of me. How can you look at someone sitting under a tree and go, yep, no deceit? You can't do that unless you're a supernatural person. And now he is instantly drawn in. This has a profound effect on him. And in verse 49, Nathanael answered him, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You're the King of Israel. In other words, like we've been saying, you don't get an appetite for God by someone screaming at you that you need to get one. You get an appetite for God by when he sees you and he says, this is who I am, and he says, this is who you are. And your just response when you see that love that he has for you, you just put your hand in the air and go, okay, I'm in. I'll follow you anywhere. So here's Jesus' response. Verse 50. Jesus answered him, wow. I put that in there. Wow. Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree. Do you believe? You will see greater things than these. And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you're going to see heaven opened. Wow. He went from fig tree to this. And the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. What a day for Nathanael. He went from being just an ordinary man who's on the outer circle of this moment to now he gets pulled out from underneath the fig tree and he's being given a promise, you're going to see heaven opened. This is unbelievable. And from here on out, we watch Nathanael go every step of the way. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they call him Bartholomew. Acts, they call him Bartholomew. John calls him Nathanael. And he's there every step of the way. He's there through the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And then his name doesn't pop up again until John chapter 21, verse 1 through 6. So if you look at John 21, we see a very common story, a story that I'm sure you are familiar with. And in this story, we're going to watch all the disciples have a very wild encounter with Jesus. Verse 1, after this, Jesus revealed himself again to the disciples. Do you see this tenacity of Jesus to just reveal himself to his disciples? It's the same thing he wants to do with you. And he revealed himself in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two others of his disciples were together. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They're pretty wiped out by this whole crucifixion deal. They said to him, we'll go with you. They went out, got in the boat, but that night they caught nothing. And just as day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. And Jesus said to them, children, do you have any fish? They answered him, no. That's just like the worst thing you can ask a fisherman. How'd you do? Don't ask, okay? We've been up all night. Verse 6, he said to them, cast the net on the other side of the boat. You'll find some. I mean, again, I don't know how somebody in the boat didn't cuss at that moment. You know, I'm sure they're just like, okay, carpenter up on the beach telling the fishermen what to do. Can you just kind of, you know, you just do this right here and we'll go over here, okay? Just keep it distance. So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in, all in because of the quantity of the fish. And Nathanael's right there with them. And Peter's the one who falls down and goes, it's the Lord. And they all go, wow. And they're undone. And here's Nathanael watching this happen. And Jesus just keeps showing himself over and over again. We don't see Nathanael again until Acts chapter 1. In Acts chapter 1, a very common verse in chapter 1, verse 8 comes along. And here it is. Oh, sorry, I missed it. Verse 8. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. And you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Very common passage read in Christendom. You go down a little further, verse 13 and 14. And when they had entered, they went up to the upper room where they were staying, Peter and John and James and Andrew, Philip and Thomas, Bartholomew, also called Nathanael, and Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon the Zealot, and Judas the son of James. All these are with one accord, devoting themselves to prayer, together with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and his brothers. So now they've gone through the whole gamut. He's out from the fig tree. He's called closer to Jesus. Now he's watched his life. He's seen him be resurrected. They've caught a ton of fish, another miracle. This man is unbelievable. And now he's been told, the Holy Spirit's going to come on you, and you're going to go tell the whole world. My question is, then where do we see Nathanael next? Now in the Bible, you don't. You don't find another reference of these guys and finding out exactly what they did. You have to go dig a little bit in church history. And so in my preparation of this message, I thought, where did that guy go? Because I never think about Bartholomew. I think about Peter, John, disciple whom Jesus loved, James. I don't ever think about, how was Nathanael? So I went and did a little digging to find out where in church history do we find Nathanael. What we find is that he stayed around long enough for Matthew to write his gospel. And when Matthew wrote his account of what happened in the life of Jesus, Nathanael got an original copy, and he bolted out the door, and he went to India. And he left an original copy of the Gospel of Matthew in India. And he didn't stop there. He went to multiple other locations to share the love of Jesus. Some people said Ethiopia as well. They believe he was there. And eventually, in Armenia, he was martyred for his faith. And they have a cathedral there that recognizes the fact that he went so far as to die for this one that he loves. That just struck me. He was like, if someone had just said, by the way, I know you're sitting under a fig tree, you're enjoying your life, but before long, you'll die for someone you haven't met yet. How could that be? But he gives himself to this cause and says, I'm in no matter what. And I just wonder if it could be that God's invitation to Nathanael could be his invitation to us. That we could be just normal, everyday college students going about our life, going through the norms, and then we run into Jesus and all of who he is, and then we are redeemed, we are transformed, we are changed from the inside out. And then something could get inside of us to say, could we be a part of seeing this for all mankind? And I believe the answer to that is yes. We are so in love with this Christ, we will give our life for his cause. Now, let me pause right here and just say this. How do you know if this is something that you want to be a part of? Here's your answer. Whenever something inside of you jumps, when you hear about the life of a transformed person, that's an indicator you have been invited in and something inside of you is signing up to be a part of the cause of Christ. If you ever hear about someone change, so let's just take bros and tacos, okay? Bros and tacos, a lot of bros, a lot of tacos. That was enough to bring the glory of God into the house, right there. I gave a message that I think at least they enjoyed to some degree, laughing at me about the way I got thrown on the ground one time in my life. Had a great time. But what I've heard so many comment is when Ben got up and he shared his story. And when Ben vulnerably got up and said, this is my life, and this is where I was headed. And if I had made a radical decision, the woman I'm now married to would not have married me. I wouldn't be where I am today in God and church and life. And it was a radical moment in my life, and God met me there. And I mean, it was all but a standing ovation when he got done. When Faith shared with the sisterhood. And she said so vulnerably, this is my life, and this is where I was, and this is where I was headed. And then she goes, but I'm in love with Jesus, and now a part of the church, and now this is what's going on in my life, and this is what I'm getting to do. The room just roars. Why? Because you've tasted redemption. When you taste redemption, something inside of you jumps and goes, Whoa, under a fig tree. Nothing much going on in life. For some, going the wrong direction. Meet Jesus Christ. Meet his love, his transformation, his redemption. Sign me up. And when we hear the redemption and something inside of you ever jumps and goes, I like that, that means something inside of you is attaching yourself to Jesus and to the cause of Christ that he's calling you into. Here is the cause. No little thing. The redemption of mankind worldwide. That is his cause. That's what you came here tonight for. You came here tonight to be invited into the cause of Jesus Christ, jumping in with him to see redemption of mankind worldwide. No small dream, no small vision. And you heard David praying it at the end. May we be the ones now to take that hunger for God and to see the evangelization of the world in our time. When you start to taste that, something inside of you goes, I want it. As a matter of fact, that's all we're going to do next week at Dwelling Place. Next week at Dwelling Place is just going to be a worship night. And if you want to and we're going to have people that are already lining up that have been transformed, and God, they're going to get on the stage and say, here's how God changed my life. We're going to do baptisms. Anybody here want to get baptized? Come next week. Show up at 6:30, and we're going to put you in the baptistry. We're going to talk about your life being transformed, redeemed, and we're going to do baptisms. Next week is Redemption Week at Dwelling Place. And I want to encourage you to come. And there'll be something, and the fact that you're clapping says something inside of you is rising up going, I think that's what I'm made for. And surely Lottie Moon isn't the only one who can raise thousands of dollars and see the nations reached. And surely, Hudson Taylor's not the only one who's going to be that. Surely I could be a part of seeing the cause of Christ come alive in my generation. I could be a part of that. By the way, that's why we do these things called impact trips. We don't do them again because oh Lord, I hope they don't go home and get drunk all summer. Let's send them to South Africa. That's not what we do. You're being invited in. If you've fallen in love with this man that we call Jesus Christ, then our prayer is you would fall in love with his cause, the redemption of those who have not yet had the chance to fall in love. And so we are sending people out all over the world to Morocco, Uganda, and South Africa. I mean, we're just, the list goes on. India. I mean, we're going. And I encourage you to jump in. Again, not to fill your summer up, to be a part of the greatest cause on the planet. You could be a part of that. One of our guys had a chance to do this last summer. He was playing up in the band. His name is Thomas Wilson. I wanted Thomas to come up and just share something that happened recently. And there's the mic right there. And as we start to wrap up here, I wanted y'all to jump into this. All right, tell them about it, man.
Hey, guys. Oh, is this on? Oh, can't even hear it. It's amazing. Okay, hey, I'm Thomas. 2 summers ago, I had an amazing opportunity to go on an impact trip. And I say, if you are not sure whether you're going, just go. Just sign up. You don't have to hear God perfectly to go. Just sign up. It's going to be awesome. So my section was going on 2 trips that summer. So one was to China, and the other was to South Africa. And I was really wanting to go to China because I'd been the summer before, but it fell through. And so South Africa was what was left. I had no desire to go there at the time. I didn't know anything about South Africa, but I just said yes. I just said, you know what, I'll just go. I mean, I wanted to go overseas anyway. So we get there, and I just fell in love with the place. It's probably, what section's going there? Yeah, it's like heaven. It's like paradise. So it didn't really feel like a mission trip half the time. But we get there, and every day we're reaching out to people in this shanty town called Masifumalele. It's really poor. It's people living on mud floors, whole families living in these little tiny shacks. And so we're just going around sharing the gospel, working with a long-term team that's there. And one day I go out, and we're just sharing the gospel with people. We've been going for about an hour. There's a group of us. And so we just stopped to pray and ask God, okay, where are we going to go next? Because we didn't really have anything to do. It's a big township. We didn't know where to go. We wanted to follow the leading of Jesus. So we prayed. We kind of got a general direction of where we should go. So we start walking that way. And I noticed these guys on a street corner. And do you ever get that feeling where God is saying you to do something, but you just know it right here? You don't hear it, but you just know it, and you really don't want to do it. So it's this group of really intimidating looking guys, and I just instantly I saw this guy, and he just stuck out to me. And I turned to my group, and I was like, hey, guys, I need to go share the gospel with these people. So a couple of us go over there. It was actually me and Kim Proctor. So we walk over there and just walk up straight up to this group of guys and just like, hey, how's it going? Can I tell you about Jesus? And they were kind of making fun of us, like they didn't want to listen to us. And I was just sharing the gospel. I didn't know what else to do. And I felt like God said one thing, and I was totally unsure if this was true, but I felt like he said that the guy that I was looking at had lost his father when he was younger. And so I mentioned that, but no one really understood, and the language barrier. So 3 of the guys left, and one guy was still standing there, so I was like, well, I'll just share the gospel with him. So I start telling him about Jesus, start telling him what he did in my life in high school and how he transformed me, and he's just listening, and at the end of it, he's kind of like, yeah, I really want this. And I couldn't really tell if he really understood, so I kind of shared the gospel again, and he eventually is like, he's like, yeah, he was addicted to drugs. I didn't know it. He just said, I can't stop smoking. I have all these problems in my life. I need something. And I was like, I believe that the power of God can set you free from all of that. And so he accepted Jesus. After that day, I just met with him the rest of the time. Every day he would come with us. He would be the ones praying for the sick. They would be getting healed when he prayed for them. I would teach him stuff out of the Bible. We just read through Scripture together, and ended up connecting him with a long-term guy there. He ended up discipling him after I left, and my friend, his name is Neba. You got to do the click. Neba. And he, it's awesome. So he has a Facebook, and we were friends, and he had told me, hey, I've been meeting with the guys. My friend's name is Okufle. So that was the guy that led to the Lord, and Neba is telling me, hey, I'm discipling him. He's hungry. He is passionate. He is set free from drugs. He got, instantly set free. I don't think he smoked another cigarette since. And all of his friends didn't believe him. He'd be carrying around a Bible, and they all thought that he was joking and stuff. And, of course, he's had his life completely transformed. His family's been restored. And the most amazing thing is that now he's actually the one that's leading teams of missionaries from around the world who come to a YWAM base there, and he's the one that's leading the outreaches there. So this guy that I just met randomly one time, if I hadn't been there, he might not know Jesus now, and now he's leading teams of people, discipling people. He was in high school, and he started leading a Bible study before school every day, and has led so many of his friends to Jesus. But I was actually Skyping with him the other day, and I wanted you guys to take a look at my friend Okufle.
My life was so messed up. I grew up without my dad. Me and my mom, we didn't even have a relationship. It was very, very hard.
You were addicted to drugs.
Yeah. And the first time I was saying, I was fit. In my mind, I was, no, Isha, I'm going to die and then I'm going to hell, and then it's so bad for me, And at that time I was ready to accept whatever it can help me in life, Even I didn't expect something that can help. I was thinking maybe you can try to take me to rehab so that I can stop smoking drugs. After that, I just feel Jesus, he was preparing the way before you come to me.
Have any of your friends accepted Jesus?
Lots of them, but it's they fall, stuff like that. Yeah, we have a lot of people, they say yes to him. I have a lot of people, I disciple them, it's teaching them. Always transform us. It's not my power today. I quit all the drugs. I love people. I have good things. It's because of him. I experience him.
Yeah.
And then something is so big because it's the miracles. So I'm so passionate to share about this. Is so amazing.
How amazing. How amazing is that? Did something inside of you jump just now? I'm doing drugs. I'm a mess. I can't stop. Wait a minute. I think God was doing something in me to prepare me for when you came. I'm just wondering, who is in Edinburgh, Texas right now that God is preparing for when you come? Who is the Spirit of the Lord is roaming throughout the whole earth? And he's just preparing hearts. And he's just saying, hey, the fields, they're white, they're ripe for harvest. I need laborers to go. And I wonder who in the nations he's just saying, I'm preparing. I'm preparing them for that person from Baylor, from MCC, from TSTC that's gonna come. So if something inside of you just jumped, it's because you were made for this man, Jesus Christ. And you were made to be a part of the greatest cause on earth, the redemption of mankind. And that's your invitation tonight. Our invitation looks real simple. You can go out to the welcome desk after this and sign up to be a part of Awaken. And sign up to be a part of an impact trip. But before you put your name on a piece of paper, I think God just wants to remind all of us that he loves us like crazy. And he's still into redemption. And it would be amazing if at the end of the night we put our hands in the air and just like we heard tonight, someone would say, the evangelization of the world in this generation. 27 million slaves right now around the world. 1/3 of America's families living in fatherless homes. 2.8 billion people around the world have never heard about Jesus. There's over 7,000 groups of people groups that have never heard of Jesus' love. And we could reduce that number if maybe just a handful of college students. I don't actually need billions. I just need a few. Just like the Lottie Moons and the Cameron Townsends and the Hudson Taylors and the Zinzendorfs who put their hand in the air and say, God, I'm willing to go anywhere at any time to do anything for Jesus. Where water once flowed, let it flow again. Let's all stand to our feet. And as we sing to close our time, this is your moment where you get to say, God, I want to receive that invitation. If there's an Evite going out from heaven, and some are saying no, and others are saying maybe, let me just go ahead and click the yes. I'm in. I'm following you anywhere. I want you to close your eyes as I pray over you the same words that Nathanael heard shortly before heaven was opened. As Jesus promised, he heard these words. It's not for you to know times or seasons that the Father is fixed by his own authority. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. You will be my witnesses in Waco and in America and in the nations of the earth to the very ends of the earth. When he had said these things, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. While they were gazing into heaven as he went, 2 angels stood by them in white robes and said, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven. Jesus, we know you're coming. And you're inviting us to make a sweep of the land. To sign up to say, if there's someone in Haiti or the DR, if there's somebody in China or Mongolia, if there's somebody in Edinburgh, Texas, or Portland, Oregon, or if there's somebody in South Africa or Uganda, if there's somebody in our world who still needs a head-on collision with the redemption of Jesus Christ, then our cry is, let your Spirit come on us, that we would say, anywhere, anytime, anything for you, Jesus. Where water once flowed, God, let it flow again. Let it flow again. across the world. Let it flow again. Let it flow again.